and she starts talking about politics. Right? So I lost a really cute pair of eyelashes. Third tragedy of the night. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I love pins like this. My grandma just got it for me today. Do you want to smell it? But anyways, I wanted to come back on here and I wanted to try out a new concept for a video. I wanted to try a story time. Pause. I'm so creative, right? I wanted to start off with a bang, and I just wanted to put a little disclaimer in here. Me telling the story is not really recommending that you do it. I figured it'd be a good video, or a good story for story time. This is the story of the time I went on a stranger's boat. To start off this whole story, me and my friends wanted to hang out one day after work, so we planned like this specific day because we were all working. When we got off work, we were all gonna hang out, but we didn't exactly have plans for the night yet. So I get off work and I go to change into the clothes that I brought with me so we could go out. I change into my clothes and I go to wait in my car for a little bit because my other friends are still working. And I get a text from my one friend being like, oh, do you want to go on a boat ride? And I was like, hey, sure, I haven't been on a boat in forever. So long story short, this guy was like, he could have been her sugar daddy, but she didn't accept the offer. And so he had a really big, nice boat. So we end up going on his boat. But before we actually get on it, we go to the liquor store and we get, I want to say like either UV blue or like Svedka vodka, like the blue raspberry one. And so we start taking shots in the car and then we go back to the restaurant where we worked because that's where we're meeting these people, right? And so instead of walking through the restaurant, because we have a bottle, we go around the building and we jump over the fence onto the deck. And like the restaurant wasn't quite closed yet, so there's customers sitting out there that are watching us like hop this fence. And then we go down to the docks and we get on the boat. It was a little awkward at first because I'm like a shy person, but you know, we get on there, everything's fine, we take off and we're heading towards like the sandbar, which isn't an actual bar, it's just a place for people park their boats, and there's like volleyball nets and like stuff to do. A lot of people when they go on the lake like to go to the sandbar. Keep in mind, it is dark at this time, so we can't actually get out and go on the sandbar. We're just going there as a destination. The whole ride was fun, and they were letting us like request music, and my friends are all like, play Hot Girl Bummer, and so I'm jamming with them, but then I'm over here, I'm like, play Welcome to the Jungle. My song never got played. Very, very tragic. No, but we're all having fun, you know, we're taking more shots of the bottle that we brought onto the boat, and then my friend who had the potential sugar daddy, like that's whose boat we were on, he like picks her up and like jumps in the lake with her, and that would have been fine. It would have been like a funny moment, except she had her phone in her back pocket. So her phone is at the bottom of the lake because it fell out of her pocket when she went into the lake. And then they get back on the boat and she's like, oh my god, my phone. So that was like the first tragic event of the night. But then she's like, you know what, fuck it, like we're still gonna have a good night. Kept taking more shots. They decided they're gonna pick up one of their friends, so which was like on the way to the sandbar. So we go to his house and we like park the boat there. The only thing my friends have on at this point are underwear, and they want to jump in the lake. And they're trying to get me to jump in the lake, but me, I'm too shy about my body to like actually take my clothes off, so I jump in fully clothed. So we're all in the lake, we're all swimming around, it's cold, but it was honestly such a fun moment, and I'm glad that I jumped in. So we're all swimming in the lake at this point. I don't think his friend actually ever came down to the boat, so we basically went there for no reason, But then after we got back on the boat and we're trying to dry off, guess what happens? It starts pouring rain down. We're headed back to the restaurant so like we can get in our car, because then we were going to go to one of the other guys that was on the boat, the friend of the guy that owns the boat. We're going back to his lake house to hang out. We're on the way back to the restaurant and it's pouring down rain. Like, not light rain, it's like heavy rain. And all my friends, they're like covered up trying to dry off, and I just want to seem like a cool girl. There's like, it wasn't an actual seat, it was like almost like it was not a countertop, but it was like similar to like a countertop, and there was like a little bit of aisle space. So I'm sitting on this one with my feet propped up on the other one, so like I don't fall while they're like driving super fast down the lake. And I'm just sitting there like, yeah, what's up? I'm cool, you know? And then, so finally we get back to the restaurant, and this part I think is so funny. Okay, so we get back to the restaurant, we're getting off the boat, back onto the docks, and I'm like, oh no, I lost an eyelash in the wind from driving the boat so fast. I've only got one lash. My makeup's all smeared from jumping in the lake. And so my friend made a joke. She's like, oh my god, what first world problems? And I'm like, I mean it is, but like, it's still tragic for my ego. Another really sad part about that is they were super cute lashes. And lashes, like, they're not really cheap. So I lost a cute pair, because I reuse my lashes. I rewear those until I physically cannot use them again. They're like falling apart, they're busted. I think we climbed the rocks. I'm pretty sure we climbed the rocks. If not, the restaurant was just about to close. So we ended up going back over the deck and jumping, but I'm pretty sure we went over the rocks. I can't really remember that part. But, you know, it's still raining, but instead of getting in the car to go to this place, we wanted to jam out, and I don't regret this at all because it was fun. But, so we're in the restaurant parking lot, blaring our music through the car, right? Because the car is basically our speakers, so we have, like, some of the windows down so we can hear the music. We got the music, like, almost all the way up, and we're just dancing in these puddles, splashing around, having like the best time ever. And I'm honestly surprised that we didn't get a noise complaint, because there's like the restaurant here and then there's houses behind the restaurant, and it's like, it's an ungodly hour. Like, people are trying to sleep, we're blaring our music, we're dancing in a parking lot, we are just living our best life. So we do that, I want to say, for like a half hour. We're just listening to music. So then we're like, okay, let's go ahead and get in the car and let's get back to this place so we can hang out. So we get in the car, and you would think finding this place is easy because it really was not that hard to find, but we struggled so hard. Where you actually turn to go to the neighborhood where this house is, we passed it like 4 times, and we keep driving back and forth. We had to turn around in the middle of the street. We're like, we are going to get pulled over. Like, at this point, none of us are really sober. I was probably the most sober out of the group. It was a recipe for disaster if we would have actually got pulled over. So, probably about 20 more minutes before we end up finding this house. We find the neighborhood, we turn. We think we know what house it is, but we weren't 100% sure. So I go and I'm knocking on the door to see if anybody will answer it, but they weren't at the like house part. So this lake house, there's like the regular house, and then you go down the hill, and then there's the lake house. It's like a guest lake house basically. So we're knocking on the main house door. Nobody's answering, so I'm like, I'm not sure if we have the right place. Like, nobody's answering the door. And eventually, I'm pretty sure they like texted us and like, where are you? Because there was a couple guys that my friends did know. Like, they went to high school with them, so they had their phone number, and they were like, where are you guys? Are you coming? And we're like, yeah, we're trying to find the place. And then they say, you gotta go down the hill. So we park the car at the top, and then we start walking down the hill. It's super muddy. That was a big mess. But finally, we get to this house, and we go upstairs. So then, you know, we start getting trollies, and then we go out to like the deck portion. We're just all sitting, talking, having a really good time. And then we all go to the bathroom, me and like my two girlfriends, we go to the bathroom and we're taking pictures, we're like having our girly moment in the bathroom. That was so much fun. And you know, we're just talking a little bit more. And then finally we go back out and they were trying to convince the guys to let us go on the jet skis. We didn't get to go on the jet skis. That would have been really fun. But they're trying like their best to convince them to take us on the jet skis. It's not happening. Me and the friend who knew the guy that owned the boat, either we were going to the bathroom or we were getting another drink. I can't remember. But she stays on the deck. There is like two conversations you try to avoid at all costs. Religion and politics, because you never know how that conversation's gonna go, especially when you're just like out partying. Like I would avoid those conversations. I don't know if she brought it up or if they brought it up, but she's very passionate, so if you start talking about this, like, she will get very heated for her side, which, you know, that's why I always try to avoid these conversations when I can. But I'm like, oh god, these two have opposing views. We're gonna get kicked out of here. She actually ended up wanting to go home after that, and she's the one that drove us to the house. So she takes us back to the restaurant to get in the friend that knew the guy that owned the boat's car. And we get back to her car. Me and her are just sitting there talking in her car for like, I want to say a half hour, having a good time. And then we're like, you know what, we really don't want to end the night here, so we end up going back to that lake house. But like the majority of the people that were there aren't there. They're back up the hill to the main house, like sleeping. There was two of the guys still awake. She went to school with both of them. We were trying to convince the one that knew the people that lived in this house the best, trying to convince him to let us go on the jet skis. He like refuses, will not take us, and then he ends up going to bed, and it's just the one guy still there left. But then we had actually a really good conversation all night with this guy, and then he ended up getting really tired, and so I think we were there for at least an hour to 2 hours just hanging out, just talking to this guy. And so then we decide that it's time to call it a night, because it's like, I want to say almost 6 in the morning at this point. We get in her car, you know, we're still talking. We go back to the restaurant from my car, and we're still just talking for a while, and then we finally decide it's time for us to go our separate ways and finally go home. I was so tired by the time I got back home. I slept so good. I had to change all my clothes. They were disgusting. Mine really weren't as bad as hers. She got more money than I did. But it was mostly my clothes were like wet, and I'm like, I cannot wait to get these things off. Especially because I jumped in the lake fully clothed, so my skinny jeans are like glued onto my legs. Like, uncomfortable. Yeah, that was actually a really fun night. It was one of the best nights I had that entire summer. Just always think about your decisions before you actually make them, but then also sometimes you have to push yourself out of your comfort zone and have a little bit of fun, because you don't know the opportunities or like the stories you might have because of them. But just use your noggin before you make a decision. I hope you guys enjoyed this story. I enjoyed reliving it. I'm not even gonna lie, that was such a fun night. I definitely have a few more to go ahead and tell on here, but until next time, guys, thanks for listening.